G'day everyone and welcome to MSA News, episode 3 during this COVID-19 period. Hope you're having a great time at home. Hope you're learning lots of things. Joining us today on the show, we've got Mark McKellen, our Sports Director, will join us to have a chat to us. We'll also speak to Nat Kind. She's our sports psychologist. She'll give us some tips on how to stay fit and healthy mentally during this period of time. And our golf coach, Stuart Leong, to join us as well. All that to come right here on MSA News. All right, joining us on MSA News is another one of our coaches at Maribyrnong Sports Academy. This time we speak to our golf coach. Our head coach is Stuart Leong. G'day, Stuart. How are you?
I'm great, Tony. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Let's talk about your history as a golfer. As a kid, talk about your love of golf.
Well, I was first introduced to golf as a 10-year-old on a family holiday visiting my grandfather to Maribyrnong, actually, and my first experience hitting golf balls was up and down what is now the airport there that we fly in and out of. And at the end of that trip, I played 9 holes with my grandfather, and my dad took up the game at the same time. And on the last hole, I remember I hit a 3-iron. It was the first time I hit the sweet spot, and it was just amazing. And that was the reason I play golf.
That's a good enough reason. And normally is sort of a family member that introduces our kids to golf, isn't it? They normally get out for the first time with mum or dad on the golf course and form that love.
Absolutely. And I was so fortunate, like dad had not played either. And we ended up the very weekend we got back, we both bought a set of golf clubs and we played every weekend, Saturday, Sunday together. And the only time that stopped is when I started competing, and dad would be the chaperone, the driver, the caddy, the mental coach, the dietitian. And I look back now and I'm just so fortunate to have had that time playing golf with my dad every weekend, and I hope that I can do something similar with my boys, whether it's golf or something else.
Yeah, playing sport with your kids is a fantastic thing to do. So from a kid who found that he enjoyed golf to an adult who thought that he could make a living out of golf, take us through that transition.
Well, it was interesting. Within probably a month of starting to play golf, the love had took hold, and I decided as a 12-year-old, 11-year-old that I was going to become a golf professional, and I did. And I progressed up through the ranks, competing and working through some amateur things. I won a couple of state titles as an amateur, and then I was the youngest in my group of friends at the golf club, and I hadn't realised that they'd all been to university and they were working. And I saw them playing golf the whole time, so I actually dropped out of school at year 12. I later went back and finished it at night school, but competed, and then ultimately did my traineeship at Metro, and then went on to the world tours, having graduated through the Asian Tour School and the Australian Tour Schools.
Did your dad do a good job at sort of tempering your expectations?
It's really interesting. Like, I was single-minded and stubborn. We use the word a lot, perfectionism, and I would say that I was a perfectionist, but in hindsight, like most of the juniors and most of the elite players I work with, I was selectively applying that, meaning I was hard on myself, and I would use my disappointments to drive myself, but I don't think I prepared in as professional a way as I could have, or as thoroughly as I could have. But I was very eager to beat myself up if I wasn't happy with the performance. So it was this selective perfectionism.
And then obviously you played golf for a number of years. That transition then from playing golf into coaching golf, what brought that along?
There's 2 primary reasons. So in 2002-03, I went on tour, and I was on tour for a couple of years. And one of the reasons why I stopped is I had an injury, and I had stress fractures in a couple of ribs, and I wasn't able to play. It was reoccurring. I was a bit stubborn, and instead of doing the right rehab and taking the time off, I continued to compete. And playing professional sport around the world and travelling to different parts is expensive. So at the time I had about $40,000 lying on credit card. So I wasn't able to play, and I had large expenses to pay off. So I went to my next best option, which was coaching, and that was something that I loved. And through the sponsorship packages I was offering as a player, I was coaching anyhow. So it was just a logical extension of applying my trade.
We spoke to Mark Safoulis last week, and it sounds like tennis and golf are very similar. There seems to be the opportunity to go and earn a trade on a world tour, but that opportunity isn't sort of there for everybody in regards to, unless you're in the top so many, it's really hard to make a dollar.
Yeah, I mean, it was my dream, and I felt like I did almost everything within my powers. With age and hindsight, I could see there was a more efficient way of doing it, but you're tracing your dream, and the dream is what keeps it alive. And without that love or without that passion, elite sport and professional sport is really brutal. And the knockbacks you get, you asked about my dad tempering my enthusiasm for it. Well, he just said, do your best, but be true to yourself and be honest. And as with other sports, the glamorous lifestyle is, in reality, as you're emerging through, it's lonely, and you're living in hotel rooms by yourself, traveling with a band of people going through it together. Like, it's wonderful, but it's challenging.
Stuart, a lot of your coaching is very much technology based. Take us through the need for that and how you sort of established that love of technology in golf.
Well, as a starting point, which probably helps me as a coach, Tony, I'm quite analytical by nature, and having something that can be measured, because golf and a lot of other sports, it's very arbitrary. I feel this, I think that. So having something that was independent that could measure what was going on was my first interest. I started a company which did high-end golf analytics right around the time when I was recovering from my injury. And that all started from analysing my data, and my coaches and my whole ethos was around hitting targets. So in golf, it's about hitting the fairway and hitting the green, and everything that I did worked around that. And when I looked at my data after the injury, I found when I performed that to my highest, so in golf there's 18 holes, I hit 18, 17 or 16 greens, my score wasn't as good compared to I missed a couple. So that really changed my perspective about everything I believed in, and increasingly I use technology as a tool to help get to the truth. It never replaces the face-to-face, but it's just something that allows us to get really good information as a starting point and to have a really meaningful discussion.
Stuart, in regards to the students at Maribyrnong, you've been involved with the program now for a few years. You must be so excited to see what comes through our program and how those kids develop from a raw Year 7 golfer to leaving school. And we've had some great kids leave at Year 12 with a lot of ability.
Oh, it's why we coach, isn't it? Obviously, we want to see success in their chosen sport, but actually just watching young people grow up and become really good, genuine people, I find that so rewarding. And then if we look at the golf program, we've got people like Steph Bunky, who's pushing into the world of professional golf now, and so many players that are knocking the door for state selection. And yes, we'd love to see ultimate performance in the high performance arena, but just seeing people improve and become really great people, to learn more about their golf game and just to build confidence and competency over time, it's such a rewarding experience, and it's something I would never give up.
All right, joining us to give us an update here on MSA News is Mark McKellen, our Sports Director at Maribyrnong Sports Academy. G'day, Mark.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
Mate, I'm fantastic. You must be really proud of the way things have been coming together over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, definitely. As we talked about flying a plane as we build it and the challenges that would bring, but really pleased with the way staff have grasped that concept and really put together some fantastic work for students to be involved with, and also extremely pleased with the way most students have actually picked up the working from home and still training and still being engaged in their sport. So big congratulations to staff and students that are involved in MSA, just with the way that they're handling what is a really tough situation.
You've been going in and out of the school and the sports academy over the last couple of weeks. It must be a very different place when it's empty.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about my job, and I've said this a number of times, is getting here in the morning and looking out the window or going for a wander and just seeing all the facilities full of energy, full of student athletes training, in the gym, working hard, whatever it might be. And then when you take all the people out of a facility, it's basically just concrete and bricks and mortar, etc. And it's the energy's just not there. But it's a different place, and really looking forward to seeing people buzzing around this place again soon.
Is that the thing you're looking forward to the most when all this is over? Is everything just going sort of back to normal? And will things be back to normal? Will things change for us when we go back?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I think obviously it looks like there's going to be a gradual rollout back to some sort of normality. But I don't think it'll be normal the way it was necessarily. I think we're going to be a little different, possibly in the way things operate. But ultimately, when we get past the bulk of the issues that we're dealing with, this place will have that buzz and that energy with student athletes and coaches and phys prep staff and just people in here working hard and making it the place that we all love.
All right, Mark, appreciate your time today. Thank you for the congratulations. We're all working as hard as we can, and great to see that it's all coming together.
Just one last comment from me, for anyone who is struggling with keeping up with things or not feeling great about being at home for so long and that sort of stuff, please reach out to their ADP teacher, to their coaches, the phys prep staff, to friends, whoever it may be. Please reach out. There is support services available, and sometimes it might just be a discussion that might be able to help out with something. So if you're not feeling great about something, don't sit there and just think it through yourself. Please reach out and grab some of the support that's available.
All right, joining us now is Natalie Kind, our performance psychologist at Maribyrnong Sports Academy. G'day, Nat. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Just thought we'd pick your brain for some tips for our students out there on how they can keep their eye on the prize and keep themselves mentally motivated at this really difficult time, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's a really great question, and you're right, it is a really difficult time. A lot of people are finding that they're challenged in ways that they haven't been challenged before. A lot has changed, a lot is uncertain. I think my biggest tip is, I've got a few tips, but the biggest thing is, firstly, we have to appreciate that this is just a difficult time, and what we're going through we've never been through before. So we're kind of learning as we go and figuring it out. We're not always going to get things right. And so it's important to be kind to ourselves through that process. We may have always been the really driven, dedicated athlete, and now we're experiencing this totally different kind of world and going, I don't know, I've never really felt like this before. I've never had trouble getting myself to do training. But you've been in a totally different environment where it's a lot easier to motivate yourself. So I think self-care, self-compassion and self-kindness is a really important thing right now. And for our families and for our teachers and for all our coaches and all the people around us who are also struggling with trying to adapt to this new normal. I guess the next thing that I would suggest is that having some routine and some new goals that fit with the current world gives you something to work towards. So if we can say, I might not have that big competition that would usually be coming up in the next few weeks. So what am I working towards? It's the same thing that I talk to athletes about when they get injured. We have to adapt our goals to suit the environment that we're in. But we don't want to go goalless, because when we don't have goals, we don't have direction, and it's really hard to keep moving. So perhaps we want to figure out, in this time, what do I want to work on? What do I want to gain from this time that's going to benefit me as an athlete, in my sport specifically, or as a person? I mean, it doesn't always have to be sport focused for it to then help you as an athlete later on. So this is a really great time to be working on other parts of your life and other parts of your identity, or really going, okay, well, I've got all this spare time. Why don't I work on my mental skills or the stuff that I don't get time to work on in training? Or it could be really hammering home a bit of time on a specific skill that I can focus on at home without my coach around and without my teammates, and really setting yourself a goal to get as good as you can at that skill in the time that we have while we're stuck at home.
We hear a lot of people talking about routine and just how important that is towards everything as well. How important and what does routine do for us?
Yeah, look, the brain thrives on consistency. And the more that we kind of know what to expect, especially in a time where there's a lot of things that are uncertain, it provides that sense of stability for us. We know when we get up, this is where we go, this is what we do. And so we just kind of do it, and it becomes a little bit less effortful, really. So setting up new routines now so that we have purpose and we have things that we're working towards really helps keep us focused and keeps us moving. At the same time, those new routines, they do have to be different and they do have to be adaptable because we've got different challenges right now. I would say with all the work that I'm doing with athletes and my private clients outside of school as well, routine has been a big part of conversation because everyone's trying to figure out, well, what does my life look like right now? And how can I feel as comfortable with it as possible? One of the things I often talk about with athletes is we can't control everything. We just can't. So, but what we can do is focus on the things that are in our control, and our behavior is one of those things. And the way we structure our day and the way we set up our time, that's something we have control over. In a world where there's a lot of chaos right now, it's really grounding to have some sense of control.
And finally, Nat, obviously it'd be fairly easy for our students to sort of feel a little bit depressed around this time. They're not doing what they normally do, training with their friends, seeing their friends, or competing. Really important, isn't it, to have a chat to someone if you're feeling that way?
Absolutely. Look, we're all finding that we're different struggles and different challenges right now, but we're all in this together, and we really need other people as human beings. And here's a point in time where we're being told to distance ourselves socially, when what we really need is to connect ourselves socially and distance ourselves physically. So reaching out, talking to other people, finding ways to connect, and being as creative as possible with that. Don't forget, we can write letters. Like, we can connect with each other in as many ways as possible, and that's how we thrive as human beings. By hearing each other's stories, by having our stories validated, and by recognizing that we're not alone.
Really appreciate your time, Nat. Thank you so much for that. We look forward to catching up soon.
Great. Nice to see you, and take care, everyone.
Hope you enjoyed our episode today. Before we wrap it up, we should say congratulations to our Year 12 baseball student, Keenan Spence. He's been offered a position at Texas Tech over in America for study next year, to continue his study and also his baseball. Congratulations, Keenan. Really proud of you, and we know that you'll do extremely well. Okay, time to find out what our kids have been doing at home in the isolation conditions. Lots of challenges have been put out there. This is how they've been performed.